Imagine walking into a bank you actually own, your money, your name on the papers, only to be treated like you don't belong there. A woman dressed modestly, without the flashy markers of wealth, approaches the counter to make a simple withdrawal. Instead of respect, she's met with dismissive stares, mocking smiles, and outright refusal. The employees whisper, smirk, and turn her dignity into a spectacle. But what they don't know is this: she's not just any customer, she's the CEO. And in a matter of moments, the entire branch will regret every single second of their arrogance. Morning was quiet when Angela walked into the grand lobby of the bank she had helped build from the ground up. To most of the world, she was just another face in the crowd, a tall black woman with natural curls pulled into a bun, wearing a plain blazer and slacks. She never flaunted her success, never adorned herself with expensive jewelry or flashy designer bags. For her, leadership meant humility, not showmanship. But the staff at this particular branch didn't see a CEO. They saw someone they believed could be dismissed. The tellers scanned her appearance, their eyes sharpening into judgment. One young man at the counter sighed as if Angela was wasting his time. Angela had come for something simple, a routine withdrawal. She carried no briefcase, no entourage, no badge of power, just a small leather purse. As she waited in line, she couldn't help but notice the sharp contrast in how the bank treated others. A man in a tailored suit was greeted warmly, offered bottled water, even ushered into a private lounge. Another woman wearing expensive heels was addressed with respect, her requests handled quickly. But when Angela reached the front, the air shifted. The teller didn't even greet her. He glanced at her withdrawal slip, smirked, and whispered to his colleague. The two chuckled under their breath before turning back to her. The request was too large, he said. Her account didn't look right. He even suggested she must be mistaken about the amount. The words stung not because of doubt, but because of what they implied. She knew exactly what they thought, that she couldn't possibly own the kind of money she was asking for. Angela's silence was steady, her eyes calm. But inside, she felt the slow boil of insult. Angela's request was simple, but the teller made it an ordeal. He spoke louder now, ensuring the line of waiting customers could hear. "You're asking for a withdrawal this size?" he said with a smirk. "We'll need verification." The words carried more than procedure. They dripped with doubt, as though Angela had no right to her own funds. The whispering spread through the room. Customers glanced her way, some curious, others amused. To them, she looked like a woman out of place. The teller leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying his moment of authority. Angela calmly handed over her identification. The teller looked at it, raised his eyebrows, and shook his head, as if unimpressed. He typed slowly, deliberately dragging out the process. Then came the insult disguised as protocol. "We'll need to call and verify this account. It's unusual." Angela could feel every eye in the room pressing down on her, the weight of silent judgment. She had faced it before, in boardrooms, on airplanes, in luxury stores. But this time was different. This was her bank. Her company's name decorated the marble walls, her signature rested on the founding documents. Her vision had turned this very institution into what it was. And yet here she stood, treated as an imposter. Minutes stretched. The teller called over a manager, a woman in a sharp suit. The manager didn't greet Angela either. Instead, she questioned her loudly, condescendingly, as if addressing someone who didn't understand basic banking. "Are you sure you have the right account? People often confuse numbers. This is a very large amount." Angela's patience thinned, but she remained composed. She gave them space to reveal themselves. Every word, every smirk, every exaggerated sigh only added fuel to the fire they didn't know they had ignited. Other customers began shaking their heads. Some looked sympathetic, others entertained by the unfolding drama. To them, Angela was simply another person being put in her place. The arrogance of the staff grew bolder with each passing minute. "We'll need to hold your request for review," the manager declared. Angela looked at the clock. She had a board meeting in 2 hours. This branch manager and her teller didn't realize the woman they were humiliating was not just a client, but their ultimate superior. The decision was no longer whether Angela would get her withdrawal. It was how swiftly she would turn this situation into a lesson they'd never forget. Angela reached into her purse and retrieved her phone. Calmly, she dialed a direct number, the one reserved for executives only. Within moments, the regional director answered. Angela's voice was steady as she explained the situation. Her own bank, her own employees, denying her access to her own money, and doing so with an air of mockery. She didn't raise her tone, didn't let anger spill into her words. She simply laid out the facts. The director, horrified, promised immediate action. Angela ended the call and slipped her phone back into her purse. Within 10 minutes, the heavy glass doors of the branch opened, and a small group of suited executives entered. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Customers looked on as whispers rippled through the lobby. The staff straightened, but their nervous glances betrayed confusion. The regional director walked straight to Angela, greeting her with visible respect. He shook her hand firmly, addressing her as Madam CEO. Gasps echoed across the lobby. The teller's smirk vanished. The manager paled. Their arrogance collapsed in a heartbeat as the truth settled in. The woman they had mocked, doubted, and dismissed was not only a customer, but the very leader of the institution. The director turned coldly toward the staff. With clipped words, he demanded their immediate resignation. The teller stammered. The manager begged for understanding. But there was no undoing the humiliation they had inflicted. Their downfall was swift, undeniable, and public. Customers who had watched the spectacle unfold now whispered in awe. The once dismissed woman was, in fact, the very backbone of the place. Angela didn't gloat, didn't smirk. She simply nodded, signed the withdrawal slip herself, and collected her funds. The silence in the bank was deafening. As Angela stepped out into the sunlight, her steps were steady, her expression calm. She didn't need to raise her voice or seek revenge beyond justice. The employees' arrogance had sealed their fate. What they thought was a display of control became the very stage for their downfall. For Angela, this wasn't about a withdrawal. It was about dignity. It was about the reminder that no matter how successful she became, the shadow of prejudice followed, waiting to question her worth. But she also knew this: every act of arrogance reveals itself in time and respect earned. Through position is nothing compared to respect earned through humanity. The story of what happened in that bank spread quickly. Customers spoke about it. Employees whispered. And soon the lesson traveled far beyond the marble lobby. It wasn't just a tale of instant karma. It was a reflection of society's tendency to judge worth by appearances, to assume power only belongs to those who look the part. Angela didn't return to that branch again. She didn't need to. The point had been made. For her, true power wasn't in proving herself to doubters. True power was in walking away, leaving them with the weight of their own actions. And so, the question lingers. How many times in life have we dismissed someone without knowing their story, their strength, or their position? How often do we let prejudice blind us to truth? Because sometimes, the very person we underestimate is the one writing our paychecks. The teller and manager lost their jobs, but Angela gained something more powerful than revenge. She gained the reaffirmation that silence, patience, and dignity are weapons far sharper than anger. And to those who watched, it was a moment they would never forget, when arrogance met reality and humility walked away victorious.